Hi everyone, here's the Book Chemist once again, and today I'm going to talk about something you've asked me about a lot in your comments, which is the idea of reading books in translation. I'm an Italian native speaker, I'm not an English native speaker, and I read all of my books in English since 2012. Do I have a strong opinion about the topic since I personally never read in translation? No, I don't really have a strong opinion. I have a solid opinion. I'm pretty sure about my opinion, and my opinion is very, very simple and somewhat paradoxical, which is if you can avoid reading a book in translation, if you can read a book in the language it was written in, then by all means do it. There's really no reason why you should do otherwise, even if it's difficult. But if you can't, if you are not able, if you don't know that language, if your confidence with that language is not high enough, then by all means do read it in translation. There is nothing wrong with it. I personally believe that translating literature and making literature from other languages and cultures accessible to your own or to a different culture is actually one of the most noble pursuits a person can follow in life. I think it's a noble profession, and I personally think that people give translators hell all the time, and they shouldn't. Especially in academia, I've heard so many professors or scholars complain about this translation or that other translation. Oh, this is clearly wrong. Oh, I would have chosen a different term. I would have chosen a different structure. And of course you would have. Translation is a mess. It's deeply personal. Everyone would translate things differently, especially when it comes to literature, to something that involves an artistry of language. But what can you do? It's a dirty job, but someone has to do it, and the people doing it deserve all of our respect. Now, I've painted things a little bit easy, but it's, of course, this is tricky business because when you're learning a foreign language, there's always going to be that passage, that stage in your evolution as a speaker and reader where you are confident with that language, you're fluent in it, but are you fluent enough? Are you confident enough to read literature in that language? That's up to you to decide. And of course, literature comes in different degrees of challenging. You may have no problem reading a specific author in their native version. You may need a translator for another writer because he or she, they are more challenging because they use more complex sentence structures. It's a complicated topic. My main rule of thumb is to have fun. If you realize that you're having fun with a book with a book you're reading in a foreign language, even if it's taking you ages, then that's always a great sign. If you realize it's turning the reading experience into a pain, that's the key sign that you should avoid the book in its native language, and you should get a translation. And once more, there's definitely nothing wrong with that as long as you ask the Book Chemist. I don't know why I refer to myself as the Book Chemist. That made me sound like an idiot. Another tricky question which I was asked recently concerns poetry. Of course, poetry is untranslatable. Even I admit that. The question is not really should you read poetry in translation. By all means do. It's definitely something you should. There's no reason why you shouldn't read a poem just because it's translated. What's wrong with you? The question I was asked is, what about long narrative poems? What about stuff such as, I don't know, the Divine Comedy, Jerusalem Delivered by Torquato Tasso, L'Orlando Furioso by Ariosto, these very long Italian poems that are really largely about the narrative, about the story, other than being, of course, works of poetry. Should you get a verse version that is going to try and preserve the harmony of the poem, or should you get a prose version that sacrifices that side of the work of art in order to be more easily readable and to help you access the poem more easily? And here I do not have a strong opinion at all. I'm asking you what you think. My personal take would be go with the prose version, because the whole architecture of the, the stanzas and the verse and the length of the verse, it's probably going to be compromised when you translate it. So especially with this type of very long poems, Jerusalem Delivered, once again, Divine Comedy, it absolutely makes sense to me to read them in prose when you're reading them in translation. But I do not have a strong opinion at all, and I know this is going to sound like blasphemy to lots of people. Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and let me know about your experiences of reading in translation, reading books in foreign languages in the comments below. And thank you as always for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.